The reason why the Holland Uprising is so well known is once again because of the context. In the 1810s, Britain starts to adopt all kinds of laws and enforce them at the Cape, which were to protect slaves more. It became clear in many people's eyes that it's just a matter of time before we will come to final abolition of slavery, which happens in 1834. And so you have things like a slave protector being appointed at the Cape, and the slaves could have the right to go, if they were maltreated by the owners, they could go and complain to the slave protector or his representatives in some towns.
And so slaves were aware of this. They thought, the whole system is beginning to shift in our favor. And they became basically impatient. They wanted not just reform and amelioration, they wanted the abolition of slavery.
It's in this context of talk about the likely ending of slavery that you have this uprising happening in a very remote area.
And so the farmers of this district in the Koue Bokkeveld were determined perhaps not to institute any reforms, to ignore the whole drift towards abolition, and to assert their authority and their will over their slaves.
This is a true revolution, it's a true uprising. There's no doubt whatever that, of course, word of this quickly got around amongst the other slaves, and from then on we see constant complaints made by slaves about their maltreatment, much more than they'd done before, and demands for freedom.
Slave rebellions at the Cape did not lead to liberation, but they did lead to the assertion of individual identity and individual agency. In a sense, every single slave engaged in an act of resistance and rebellion was reasserting their humanity. We can't judge history in this sense by winners and losers or victors and defeated. In a slave society, the real heroes are the ones who resist even though they fail.
I think about what Louis van Mauritius and Holland van de Kaap, what they did, and it might be viewed as being very violent. We must also remember that they did not see a future. You know, there was no light shining on what their tomorrow is going to be. So they took some form of action.
The longer impact of slavery is present in the complexity of the post-apartheid and apartheid periods. The ways in which, for instance, it has been possible for us to carry a kind of contempt for the descendants of enslaved people into what has been an attempt to craft a new national culture. That tells me that there's something broken in our understanding of ourselves, that it is actually a dismissal and a marginalizing of precisely that form of survival and resistance. So if we focus only on one element of our history, we might forget the shards and the cracks that lie at the bottom